Welcome to Perspectives in Business. I am Juan Carlos Giraldo from Boston, United States. By involving employees in sustainability efforts, companies can create a more committed, innovative, and responsive workforce, leading to more successful and sustainable business practices. In this episode, my guest is Laura Althoff. With extensive experience in coaching and change management, Laura believes that transitions have the potential to provide opportunities for profound growth and success in organizations. During our conversation, we addressed topics such as how can organizations connect employee engagement with sustainability? What challenge do organizations face in promoting sustainability initiatives with their employees? How incorporating sustainability programs can improve employee productivity? Laura, how are you? I'm so happy to have you today as a guest on my podcast.
Hello, Juan Carlo. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Laura, today we are going to discuss a topic that involves probably the most important asset that any organization have, which is the employees, right? So in this episode, we will discuss why it is important to involve employees in the sustainability strategy, which is related to engagement. So let me start this conversation by asking you, Laura, to get into the concept. How will you define employee engagement?
Well, it's a really great question. And I also appreciate that you set this up with the fact that employees are such an important part of this conversation. They're a captive audience in a huge mass. So there are lots of eyes and ears that we can be in front of. But going to employee engagement, how I define it is generally it's about how connected and committed the employees are at any particular organization. And that's different from their job satisfaction because it's reflective of the larger organization. It's about how they really feel to the whole of the organization, not necessarily to their manager or to their particular job. And we see engagement show up in behaviors like optimism or selflessness or oriented around a team versus around themselves. And we see engagement in employees who over and over go above and beyond what their work description, their job description may say or say not. So it's these behaviors and these actions that show up that really show us what an engaged employee is. And it's relatively elusive. It's really hard to measure. It's not as though we can say somebody that shows up at work every day or somebody that shows up or takes a certain amount of vacation time. There's no real metric around it in that way. It's a constellation of things. Willis Towers Watson, the insurance company in England, defines it as engagement is employees' willingness and ability to contribute to the company's success. So that speaks again to that piece that's engagement is around the whole company, not just the individual employee. And then just finally, some statistics around it. Recent Gallup poll says that 33% of Americans are engaged, 52% are just showing up. So there's lots of room, lots of opportunity for increased engagement.
Let's dig a little bit to the context of sustainability, environmental, social governance, etc. So how can organizations connect employee engagement with sustainability, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, companies have to have some kind of sustainability goals, and then they have to promote them. They have to find a way to share them with the employees. That's the way to get them engaged in what they are. The other thing is to really offer opportunities for employees to directly impact those sustainability goals. If climate change is the issue, for instance, then find ways for employees to understand and reduce their carbon footprint. And help them see, the connection between the electricity that they're using or the resources that they're using or the planes that they're taking, or if that's their issue, help them just see that so that they can increase their awareness around it, their consciousness around it, and really give them education around it. That's where, again, that captive audience comes into play with a group of employees in an organization, is that they're really eyes that you can educate around that. Another piece in helping organizations connect engagement with sustainability is incentivizing employees to be part of the sustainability solution. So many companies offer time off for employees if they're volunteering in some kind of activity. They can recognize leaders in their sustainability groups that they have. They can provide promotional opportunities when employees, go and represent a company on behalf of a company in a sustainability initiative, for instance. That's some publicity for that company about what their goals are and what they believe in. And then finally, employee resource groups are a big opportunity for. They've been shown to increase engagement, and oftentimes employees come together around things that they care about, and that can really bubble up within the organization and be certainly around sustainability goals.
Every company in the world, like every organization, every strategy, because sustainability is a strategy, has challenges. What are the challenges that that employees or the organization has to, for example, to promoting this initiative?
Yeah, well, a couple of challenges come to mind. And, first and foremost, it's when an employee is at a company and the company is sharing what their values are and if promoting sustainability is part of that, that's something an employee can opt into or opt out of. But what's critical is that the employee sees it as important to the company. The company has to really assert that this is one of our core values. This is one of our core missions. Being able to explore why it's important to the company is even more important to get people engaged. But other challenges for organizations are company culture. A company culture that really promotes competition and individual success does not really go very far with this collective sense of sustainability and what this is going to look like in the world. And then third, I think organizations face the challenge of everybody's increased demand on their time, both in work and outside of work. So this idea that sustainability or a sustainability initiative at a company is in addition to their workflow, that has to be really negotiated and resolved for the employee to understand that, no, this is important to the company. And as such, it's sort of part of the whole package.
Speaking about productivity, Laura, these sustainable initiatives in the companies, organizations can improve the employee productivity. How? What is your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think to the degree that sustainability programs improve engagement, they can definitely improve productivity. And so let's unpack that a little bit. Productivity happens when people have really clear roles and responsibilities and a path to success. People start to feel productive. We have seen that when people are engaged, they are more productive. So that's another piece on top of this. And then employee resource groups have been shown time and time again to improve engagement because they keep people connected and they can increase morale. So if that can produce and improve productivity, certainly a sustainability program around that could definitely, it's a couple of steps away. I'm not sure that it would be A plus B equals C necessarily, but it's certainly, I think, in improving it and having that as an option for folks would be a piece of their improving the productivity.
Laura, do you work with many companies? Do you think that this is just a sustainability initiative or how to engage the employee with the organization, with the culture, mission, vision, etc.? Is just HR role? Because people think it's just HR has to be in charge, and I don't think so.
I don't think so either, and I actually don't think you're going to set yourself up for success if that's all it's seen as. It's going to be seen as just a function of this organization off to the side rather than an entire organizational commitment and initiative that we all believe in and that we're all behind and that we're all trying to make grow. I think it had to be successful. It needs organizational wide support, and I think employees having a voice is certainly part of that. Leadership explaining it, but also, it's similar sustainability put into the HR function very much is like many initiatives that get put into the HR function and then kind of dismissed, and people don't really understand what it's about or why it matters. I always encourage the companies that I work for, if you're going to have an initiative like this, first of all, make it company wide, but also make it really clear, what are we gaining by doing this? What is the company gaining? Why are we committed? Why are we investing our time and energy in making this thing happen? And that goes far beyond just an HR function or a revenue function or anything. That's like the company's identity. That's the company's reputation.
Oh, certainly. To me, education is critical. How can a company or organization educate employees about sustainability?
I think about all of those little educational kind of public health messages that we get that are separate from sustainability and separate from employees, experience perhaps. But when you go in and the toilet flushes either up or down for what kind of waste it's going to have. Like when we start becoming conscious of how much water is being used, or why there's a big note on the electronic hand dryer that says, we know you don't like this, but it saves us this many number of paper towels. I know there's tons of research around the way those things are phrased so that they are more engaging and more compelling to people rather than shameful and scolding. Like what we're trying to do is build a society of, I'm going to tell you what this means, and then you make a choice of how you want to do it or not. I think I was booking a plane ticket and recently, and that, there's an option of the low carbon or yeah. So it's coming around, where these pieces are being put into place. And if people are paying attention, they're beginning to see it. I was just reading an article that outlined the amount of energy it takes to send one email. And so being able to educate your folks on that, like, okay, well, using an instant messaging service it's much less load on the system. So use that instead. I mean, I didn't know that was even a thing. You first have to promote it as part of the mission and the vision and the values. I think always education is so much more powerful when you can get your employees involved in the process. So if you've got a sustainability committee, to get them figuring out like wow, these are the lessons that we're learning. These are the information that we're getting. Like, let's spread this around. And all of a sudden it's not coming from the top down, but more from the bottom up. And also finding ways to connect their behavior to the impact, just like we were talking about with the photocopies or the carbon footprint, or like how you're doing something is actually impacting this. And then simply just providing educational materials. If there were a way to say, we're committed to sustainability and here are the 5 things that we're doing.
Yeah, amazing. I think that you mentioned this idea that posts in certain places of the office, some kind of, reminders, like post-it, something like that. Uh, Instead, like endless webinars to this talk and talk, people getting, and then people can like use more design thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think and make it more. I think so often it becomes this abstraction of, you watch a webinar and you feel like, oh, well, okay, so I won't fly as much as I thought. But if you're actually saying, okay, well, I'm going to have this cup of tea and I'm going to bring my own
Exactly.
cup. Like, bring your own cup. You don't have to have a paper cup every single time, or a plastic cup, or just a
No,
single use
certainly. Oh
cup.
my God, yes.
You know, here's an idea, like, here's the sustainability, and I've seen little, snippets on different corporate websites where it's like an idea of the day, and whether it's a sustainability idea or some other educational piece, but helping employees do the right thing by explaining what the impact is, I think, is
That's
hugely
amazing.
powerful.
Laura, is there anything that you would like to add to this conversation?
I would. I have 3 points I would love to share. First and foremost is what we talked about at the beginning. There's lots of opportunity to increase engagement. So sustainability, and people are looking for ways to do it. So sustainability is a great way to do it. Second is that Mercer reports that 36% of employees favor companies that focus on social equity and environmental protection. So that's a significant amount, more than a third of your workforce. And then hope for the future is a Deloitte survey from 2023 that surveyed Gen Z and millennials, says that 42% have already changed or plan to change jobs due to climate concerns, and that 50% are pushing their employers to take more action on environmental issues. So this is not going anywhere. This is definitely something that is being tracked and being made important. And we're seeing that we've got a much more aware, educated, interested in this topic workforce that's coming in, because certainly if the world, doesn't exist, they don't really have a future. So they're much more compelled to do it. And organizations and employers are going to have to really get behind it. And I think using it because there's such a great opportunity to increase the engagement. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think, like as you mentioned, we are Gen X,
Yes,
right?
we are.
So, proud to be,
Very proud.
proudly. But I think like we as a Gen X, we have a lot of responsibility as well as they
Agreed.
and the another Gen Z or millennials
Mhm.
have right now. And if we work together, we are not like a different, we have to coexist in this
Absolutely.
and learn to each other to protect this planet and create more engage in this case and in the organizations. Laura, where people can contact you, because I know you are doing consulting and coaching in different organizations in different kind of size. Please share where people can contact you.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. Well, you can find me on my website at Althoff Consulting. It's ALTHOFF consulting.com.
Mm-hmm.
I provide professional coaching mostly to individuals, but also in the workplace. And I'm really committed to engaging a healthy workforce in all kinds of different ways I do that. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Laura, I would like to say thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. I am Juan Carlos Giraldo from Boston, United States. Thank you so much, everyone. The views, information, or opinions expressed in this episode are my own and do not represent my employer's views.